Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by the Institute of Sustainability Studies as part of our Sustainable Action Dialogue webinar series. My name is Shruti Prakash, and I'm the Marketing Manager here at ISS, and I'm thrilled to have you here for this exciting and informative session. As we get started and wait for more people to tune in, we'd love for you to introduce yourself in the comments below. So let us know where you're tuning in. What industry or sector you're from, and your current role. It's always inspiring to see the range of backgrounds and experiences in our community. All right, so today's webinar on embedding sustainability for organizational impact is being delivered by Natalie Ainsworth. Natalie brings a decade of global experience across sectors, including FTSE 100 and Fortune 100 organizations. Her expertise spans the entire talent spectrum from early career development to leadership growth, and includes leading enterprise-wide strategy, instructional design, and facilitating high-quality learning experiences. With an MSc in Sustainable Development and having led a corporate philanthropic program for global community investment, Natalie now combines her L&D expertise with sustainability to drive behavioral change that benefits individuals, organizations, and the planet. Featured at L&D conferences on the intersection of learning and sustainability, Natalie excels at connecting individual motivation with actions that advance organizational sustainability goals. So we're truly honored to have her here today to lead our webinar. So before we begin, a quick note on the housekeeping. Throughout the session, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment section on LinkedIn, and we'll have a dedicated Q&A session towards the end where Natalie will answer as many as possible. So with that, I'll now hand it over to you, Natalie.
Thank you, Shruti, and a big thank you to the team at ISS for hosting me today. It's a real pleasure to be here. And thank you to everyone as well joining either on the live stream or whether you're watching the recording later. We're here really to delve into how to embed sustainability for organisational impact, as Shruti kindly introduced. And just a little bit more about me. I first became interested in sustainability more from the consumer perspective, learning all about my purchasing power and the importance of conversations to kind of raise awareness around this topic. After I started my master's in sustainable development, I really quickly began to notice in my corporate career that there is quite a big disconnect, or there was, I was observing it at the time, around sustainability strategy and the everyday employee. And so today's conversation really is just a subject matter I'm personally extremely passionate about, because no matter your role in an organization, we all have the power and potential to act on sustainability. It's just about knowing how we do that and equipping ourselves with the tools. And so today we're going to talk a bit more about that. The agenda for today will cover the case for creating value through your people and what that looks like through the lens of the future of jobs and green skills. We'll also look at the drivers of change and how the green agenda just isn't going anywhere. It's something that we really need to tackle. And we'll kind of culminate with looking at how we can fully embed rather than see sustainability as an add-on or as a tick box. It's really about embedding that. As we go through today's session, please do comment any questions you have. As Shruti says, we'll have time at the end to talk about those. And I also invite you to share what sustainability challenges you're currently facing, even if you don't necessarily have a question connected with that. It'll be good to see, what our community are currently tackling in their roles. So let's get stuck in. What do we mean by embedding sustainability? And for me, really, this quote sums it up well. It's a quote from the World Economic Forum, and it's, "To meet today's global sustainability challenges, the corporate world needs more than a few chief sustainability officers. It needs an army of employees in all areas of business, thinking about sustainability in their decisions every day. So what does this mean? Sustainability really just isn't an isolated activity. Just like your diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts really aren't isolated to that one person or team driving the strategy, it takes everyone knowing how to act and then implementing it throughout their working decisions and even in their personal lives as well. So similarly, the sustainable shifts that we need to see, will require these sorts of, connected togetherness, working together. It is also going to require system level change and partnerships of all types to achieve, but it needs everyone on board and really supporting that effort and accelerating the transition. There is a high focus on data and reporting within the sustainability space, and being able to measure our progress and demonstrate the impact in a transparent way is extremely critical. Because if we aren't measuring it, how do we know we're on the right trajectory? But what we often neglect is what sits behind the data, and it's your people. Sustainability really depends on people doing things in new, novel, or different ways. It's people's actions and behaviours that drive the data. And so that's where this conversation around embedding can really come in. And I know personally as well, like this can feel really overwhelming. It's quite easy to think, but what impact can I really have? I'm just one person in the world or in my organization. The reality is, though, we need every one of us forming new ways of thinking and being that are more sustainable, and even if it's imperfect. But we need it happening inside and outside of our workplaces. You taking climate action alone is really different to you taking climate action with your friends, your family, their friends, their families. The catalyst for growth is really exponential when you start to think about it in that way. And I'd really like for us today to kind of imagine what it would be like if your teams are having conversations around sustainability and you're taking action on sustainability in your roles every day in some way. And then think about that at the entire organization level. What if your whole organization knew how to act, and you're just proliferating that through to your suppliers and the work that you do with them and the customers that you engage with and attract? The impact potential there can just keep growing. And so this is really where we can have an impact through people agendas. Anyone who works within a people function or has a leadership role within an organization plays a critical role in really embedding that sustainability and ESG principles into the workplace culture. So the data also tells us, so we're sticking with that data theme, but the data also tells us that not only are green skills what we need and skills within the workplace, it's what our people want to. 83% of people want to act on climate change in their jobs, yet only 34% say they can confidently explain their organisation's climate commitments. I've replicated this question a few times in sessions with people leaders and anyone working within a people function, and the gaps between motivation and ability to act are really visible even in that context. Is it realistic for us to expect that people who can't understand or explain something know how to act to support it? And yet, when you recognise your employees as really important stakeholders in sustainability, great things can happen. Your people are the key to unlocking sustainable value creation, not just for your organisation, but importantly for the planet too. According to a Deloitte survey, 59% of leaders say employee action and activism led to an increase in sustainability plans. So not only did employees getting involved support the achievement of the sustainability strategy, it also enabled the organisation to scale their plans further, to be more ambitious, to be more bold. And that really is true value creation. 91% of those surveyed also stated that sustainability training had been rolled out already or was planned in the next 2 years. really demonstrating the importance of skills in this context. So in our organizations, what this data really tells us is that there could be more than 3/4 of our employees already motivated to support our agendas. And there is a saying that you might have heard, which is the fastest way to a climate career is your current role. And so really, how do we start to think about that, cultivating that within our organizations? I'd like us to just step back a moment, though, and consider the macro level view of the opportunity here to embed sustainability from a skills perspective. And skills are they're just one way to embed sustainability, and we will explore other ways within this session as well. But for the relatively short time that we have today, I kind of wanted to focus in a bit more deeply on this as on skills, because I think it is a really critical issue. And we're going to explore a bit more about that within the next few slides, specifically from a future of jobs perspective. So the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report, the 2025 one is what we're kind of looking at right now, provides an in-depth analysis of the evolving employment landscape. It highlights key trends and their implications for professionals in a HR capacity, anyone in talent management, learning and development, but it's also really relevant for anyone in a leadership capacity within an organisation. It's an annual report, and we're going to be looking at how the report findings have evolved over the last 5 years as well, but at the moment we're just sticking with 2025. So the most recent report projects that a net increase of 78 million jobs will happen by 2030, with 170 million new roles emerging and 92 million positions actually being displaced. And so the strategic role of leadership and of people agendas to drive organisational performance through your talent is more important than ever. On the screen on the right-hand side, we can see 4 quadrants, and these are visualizing the skills and priority level that were identified through the report's findings. In the top left quadrant, we have skills that employers are expecting to increase in importance by 2030. And so these are really kind of classified as emerging skills. And on the top right quadrant, the skills that are both core now, so really important right here, right now, and will continue to increase in importance through 2030. One of those really critical skills in the top right quadrant that I'm going to call out is talent management. It's seen as a core skill both now and for the future, which indicates that our upskilling and reskilling and redeployment of talent will continue in importance over the next few years. Sustainable business transformations aren't just about creating new products and services. It's also about reimagining the internal and existing production processes or work processes, operations, rethinking business models, and ultimately reshaping the skill sets required to navigate this future of work. This greening of the economy, it's redefining many existing roles, and it emphasizes the need for new expertise within our companies, such as green skills. Another one I'm going to call out, and it's no surprise for any of us, I think, to see AI and big data in that top right quadrant as well. And would it be a webinar if we didn't at some point talk about AI and the disruption there? But given the planetary impact of data centers, the social sustainability impacts, and questions around governments, I fundamentally believe that the topic of AI and data centers big data goes hand in hand with sustainability. They're not separate conversations. It's all part of the same opportunity. And that opportunity is reimagining our people agendas and the way that we drive organizational performance. It's not about doing things the same way. It's not about slotting AI in as an add-on. It's the same with sustainability. It's not about slotting it in as an add-on. It's about how we embed that and how we drive it performance through those. And so what's within our influence here? Well, proactive talent management and workforce planning is essential. Developing cultures of lifelong and continuous learning, helping our people understand that lifelong learning is unavoidable. Our roles are changing, things are being reshaped by the landscape, so we need to be thinking about what we need to upskill in. And really ensuring that sustainability and inclusion and diversity are mission critical within our organisations, and they're reflected through how we operate. And it's really important, I think, to understand what green skills encompass, because they can be thought of as these technical skills that are really required for green roles, or they can be the more kind of transferable professional skills. You might also be familiar with the term soft skills. The technical skills are the skills really required for a quote unquote green job that requires some sort of technical skill set. This might include things like carbon accounting, renewable expertise, circularity, biodiversity. And some of these technical skills are becoming a bit more pervasive, and what's traditionally not been seen as a green role is now requiring a level of expertise in maybe one or two of these areas. So, for instance, the concept of circular economy is really relevant within the research and development space or in product design space. Then there's the more transferable skills that everyone needs, which can be thought of as things like collaboration, influencing, storytelling, critical thinking, problem solving. And this also includes things like sustainability literacy and environmental awareness. And these professional skills are fundamental. They're the cornerstone of innovation and progress. They really are going to be what helps support us through an evolving business landscape alongside the technical skills required. And in terms of the future of jobs, many of these are featured within the critical now or emerging in importance quadrants of the future of jobs report. And environmental stewardship is also now emerging as a priority skill for 2030. And these really are the uniquely human skills for the future of work. We're going to look very briefly at the last few years of the reports up to now, and the things I kind of want to call out are there's a couple of things. So we can really see an early recognition of the importance of green skills in 2020, so that's 5 years ago. This has continued to rise in importance, and actually, as we can see within when we get to 2023, the demand for green skills actually started to outweigh supply. So it's creating effectively a skills gap at that point. And within that gap, we're seeing a new diversity issue emerging as well. And so the intersectionality of sustainability with diversity and inclusion it's paramount. It's essential for our skills strategies to recognise this, and so we don't leave anyone behind. And what I mean by this kind of diversity issue emerging is in just one of those ways is we're seeing a new gender gap forming between the number of a male or female identified genders in a sustainability or green role, possessing the skills needed for the future. And so we really need to be thinking quite carefully about how we manage that within our organisations. And I think what's the second point I kind of want to raise on this timeline is the skills gap just isn't going anywhere, and with this shortage of skills we do need to consider how we grow that capacity and that capability within our organizations. And that's just one of the reasons why we kind of keep seeing upskilling and reskilling as a constant across the reports. It's featured at each point. And then when we look at the drivers of these changes to the future of jobs, it becomes even clearer that the green agenda and the need for these green skills isn't going anywhere. The importance of ensuring that baseline knowledge and giving practical knowledge to people that demystifies sustainability for them and really helps build that capacity are things that we have direct influence over within a people function. The drivers for change include things like economic uncertainty, societal issues, technological change, demographic shifts, such as an aging population, and of course, the green transition itself. These factors impacting the future of skills and of jobs are organisational challenges that we have been feeling acutely for several years. They aren't isolated issues. They're all really deeply connected to sustainability, and in several cases to the people agenda as well. How are we navigating the pace of technological advancements? How do we support our people through the rising cost of living? And how do we balance that with organisational performance when there's a slower economic growth? How do we manage ageing and declining working age populations, as well as managing growing generational divides within an organisation itself? The way we have always done things just aren't enough anymore for these continued challenges that we're facing. What's also clear from this is that it's more than just regulation driving the need for sustainability skills. Regulation is a really critical factor, but we do have an opportunity to really extend beyond the regulatory requirements and to think more holistically about what sustainability means in the people context, to truly embed it within our organisations. And investors really seem to agree that the impact of physical climate change and extreme weather events pose a significant threat. The MSCI Sustainability Institute found that 84% of investors agree that within the next 10 years, the physical impacts of climate change will impact regional economies. And what those investors are also looking at within the ESG investment space is whether an organisation has attracted, retained, and skilled the right talent. So we've been talking a lot so far about the importance and the role of skills in driving that organisational performance. But this is really just one way to embed sustainability within your organisation. The opportunity really is transformative change. It's not about doing more. It's not about doing adding on things to what we're already doing. It's about doing what matters most. It's about being purposeful, not reactive. And it's a catalyst for us to really reimagine how we serve our organisations and how we create value. So what can we do about it? The important thing, I think, to start with is really auditing or kind of really assessing, gathering data around your maturity in some of these areas. We're going to talk a bit more about them shortly. And really thinking as well around how benchmarks can play a role. So what's happening across your industry, your sector? What do reports like the Future of Jobs highlight for your industry and sector? If you're not quite sure what is really coming down the pipe for you, it's about educating yourself on what those things are. And so considering your policies, your processes, governance that relates to diversity, equity, inclusion, fair pay, labour rights, health and well-being, all of these things that also feed into ESG metrics. How can you ensure that everyone is being represented and included? How do you know that you are not leaving anyone behind? And I'd also in this context, in this place, also consider the responsible use and strategic use of technology and data, and just recognizing where the benefits outweigh the trade-offs as it relates to planetary impacts of some of the emerging tech that we're seeing. Coming back to education and engagement, and so really thinking about that skills piece is how do you educate and engage your employees to ensure they know how to act on sustainability within their roles? Do your people have the tools, knowledge, and empowerment to enable them to play their part? Is sustainability integrated into individual and team decision-making? Do your employees possess the knowledge, mindset, and everyday skills that support sustainability change management? Because a lot of this is change management. It's a foundational sustainability literacy and contextualization for every role that's actually needed. And if we think about performance and goal setting, what would it look like if our managers regularly discuss sustainability in in the teams and in one-to-ones? What could be the outcome if everyone had a sustainability related goal? And it'd be really interesting to hear if there's anyone listening today who have already implemented that in their organization and what the impact was. How do you reward sustainability? How do you reward performance? Are your compensation and benefits green? Do you consider your pension, any other opportunities for a compensation package for your employees that is more sustainability minded and that actually helps people make different choices? And then how do you extend beyond the organization? And so what are your commitments to the communities that you operate in and with? What partnerships do you cultivate? What are your policies around volunteer days? What's the uptake on volunteering? What's the barrier to attending a volunteer day or being able to do something as an employee? Do your vendors and your suppliers have a sustainability strategy within the HR context? So who are you working with from a people perspective that who provide a service to you? Do they have a sustainability strategy? And what does social sustainability really look like for your organization? And then thinking about, as I mentioned, benchmarking. So how do you compare to your competitors and what can you learn from them? It's not a race. We're all in this together. And so we really should be sharing information, sharing best practice, and talking to each other about what's working so we can learn from lessons and not make the same mistakes. And a key aspect here, and it will come as no shock really, that I'm extremely passionate about is upskilling yourselves. So really learning what sustainability in the HR context means. Do you know how to connect and drive ESG metrics and connect it to your core HR operations and the people strategy that you have within your organization? What underpins a lot of this also is storytelling and social proof. And these are ways to help unlock culture shifts that harness employee activism and drive that sustainable impact. And social proof really refers to our tendency to follow the actions of others when making decisions. And so in an organizational context, how our colleagues, managers, and leaders behave sends a signal. This is how we do things here. And so from a HR and a people perspective, what signal are we sending? We're going to be exploring a lot more about this and leveraging these areas within your organization to embed sustainability throughout operations and through to creating that kind of culture of sustainability in an upcoming masterclass with Institute of Sustainability Studies, which will be available to all diploma participants. And I think at the end, Shruti will be able to signpost people to how you might get access to that. And with that, I'm going to hand back to Shruti. Thank you. And I believe we may have some time for some questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Natalie, for those valuable insights. There's clearly a lot to think about when it comes to aligning people's strategy with sustainability goals. Today, people are truly the driving force behind successful sustainability transitions, and for businesses to sort of capitalize on this opportunity, like you said, an entire army of employees in an organization need to understand their role and how they contribute towards achieving those goals. So now let's open the floor to questions. To those of us who's listening, this is your chance to sort of dive deeper, ask questions, and share your reflections. And feel free to drop your questions in the chat below in the comments. While we wait for those questions to come in, I do have a few for you, Natalie. So with the rapid shift in skills demand, how can HR and L&D teams align future workforce planning with sustainability goals?
That's a great question, Shruti. And it is rapid. It's a very good call out and a very good descriptor for the shift that we're seeing. And I think it's only going to increase in pace as well. Um, the first challenge, I think, is understanding what your priority roles are and where your organization really needs to focus their efforts first. I think, if your organization is already gathering ESG metrics, there are maybe some clear identifiers there of really where you need to improve as an organization, and you can start looking there as a data point. I think also considering what departments or functions can have the most impact on critical areas of sustainability. So where are your biggest scope emissions coming from? And is it something you can have a direct impact on through reimagining how you do things within the organization and reskilling people to be able to do that? And what roles also are currently being disrupted by the changing tech landscape or some of these future jobs coming up? Where can you reskill and redeploy? And so really thinking about those areas, assessing the priority, understanding what the gaps are in the skill sets, and then who needs to know what, why, and when. And what impact will it have for the business if you do nothing in that context? So if you stay stagnant, you don't respond to this need for skills, what's going to happen? What's the do nothing scenario? Really making sure you're aligning with the ESG measures will be able to help you to demonstrate value for the organization quite immediately. And so I think that's an important area for you to be really aware of within the people context. So, ESG is not isolated to the people within an ESG team gathering that data. It's fundamental to all of us. We all play a role.
Yes.
And then just thinking about whether it's technical or the professional skills, where do you go for that then?
That's true. So, I think, like you said, sustainability needs to be sort of embedded into the very fabric of an organization. So that brings to my next question on as to like what metrics or indicators can we really use to measure whether sustainability is truly embedded across the whole organization?
Another great question, a very great question. I think there are some things that we do continuously need to keep be aware of within a people context, and some of those will be around how how many people are engaging with our content. There is an often a kind of lean towards measuring consumption and who's completed something, but we need to take it a little bit further than that. And so we can't just focus on those outputs, like how many people did a training, how many people completed it. We need to start measuring, and understanding whether people are changing behaviors. Do employees fundamentally see sustainability as part of their job? Are they making that connection between the strategy and what they do on a day-to-day level? Are they able to translate that? Are you giving them enough support to understand how to translate that for themselves? And are the values visible in the decision making that's happening and anything that has a significant impact on an ESG metric? So bringing it back to ESG KPIs, keeping close to that, being very aware of the ones that you can directly impact within a HR context, and thinking about from a true kind of embedded perspective, it's, looking at goal setting frameworks that maybe include environmental or social impact measures. How do you kind of recognize sustainability related behaviors or projects? So are there like kind of internal awards? How many roles kind of have this have a formal sustainability related behavior or responsibility associated with it? And can you formalize that for every role? What does that look like if it's every role? Employee perception, so I think pulse surveys, things like that. I know how to make I know how to make a different decision within my role. I feel empowered to do it. I'm supported to do it, those sorts of things. And an uptake on things like uptake of volunteering, uptake of any green related benefits like cycle to work schemes, or anything, any green pensions. How do you make sure that you're offering the things that you're offering people are aware of, and then they know that they can make those changes? But I think it's a really great question. There's so many ways. I think it depends on where you need to shift the needle as an organization, really, and where your priority areas are.
Thank you, Natalie. Andrew here has a question. He says, are you seeing businesses discussing or reviewing the environmental impact of the recruitment process itself? He says he believes the recruitment process itself plays a significant role in fostering a culture of sustainability, and would love to know your thoughts on that.
I love this question. And it's something I also feel quite passionate about, because there's so many ways a recruitment process and talent acquisition can have a great impact here. And it's not just around being able to talk to potential candidates around sustainability, to include it in job descriptions. It extends beyond that to fundamental strategy and behaviors within a talent acquisition space. I think people are becoming more aware of it. I'm not I'm observing more organizations being more vocal about sustainability from the outset at application point. I'm not necessarily seeing it being woven through fully, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I think it's something that more organizations can be doing. For instance, keeping roles open too long, accepting more applications than they need to, because they've made a decision potentially and it hasn't been closed down externally. That all of that carries a carbon footprint, right? There's digital carbon footprints there happening all the time. How many people are using AI for their applications, and how many organizations are using AI on the other end? There's all these things to consider. And I think it's a really great question, Andrew. I think it's starting, it's permeating. Is it yet connected all the way through? Maybe in some cases, but I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Another question for you is, how can we ensure that employee passion for climate change is meaningfully channeled into business impact and not lost due to lack of support or structure?
I think this is another extremely good question, because you want to maintain that momentum, but what you also need to be able to strike the balance between as an organization is not overburdening teams with things that they just aren't also able to have capacity for to continue to monitor. And so I think it's about that freedom within a framework, right? And making sure that there's a clear framework for the ability to do something grassroots as an employee. So how can an employee maybe lead on community engagement or get involved at a community level, impacting social sustainability if that's something they're particularly passionate about? What is your volunteering policy, and what does that look like? What internal sustainability initiatives can kind of happen and grow at a grassroots level, and how do people make that happen? How are they empowered to make that happen? I think it takes some consideration there. And I think it's also about thinking about the goal setting frameworks. And so if we think about it from where we can have a real impact in the people space, is providing structure through performance and reward indicators. And so including things like ESG goals on our goal setting processes, and rewarding performance in line with demonstrated sustainability action and impact in some way. be kind of giving that structure around it, I think it will mean that there is, a reinforced way that isn't necessarily requiring a lot of hand-holding from the people function itself. It's about how you embed it through the processes that you have already.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's session. Natalie, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to have you with us, and thank you for this insightful conversation. You've really shown us that embedding sustainability is just about having a strategy on paper. It's about like shaping the whole culture, empowering people, and aligning purpose with action. So to everyone who joined us here today, thank you. We hope you're leaving with not just ideas, but like practical tools to embed sustainability in your day-to-day work. So whether you're in HR, leading a team, or just beginning your journey, you have the ability to influence your organization's sustainability direction. And if you're ready to take the next step, I encourage you to explore our courses, our practical sustainability courses that we offer. And as Natalie earlier mentioned, if you would like to dive deeper into this topic, in her upcoming masterclass, which is exclusive for our course participants, then you can choose to enroll in one of our courses to attend that session live online. So keep an eye out on our website and our LinkedIn page for more insightful webinar sessions coming up this year. And we look forward to continuing these conversations and supporting your journey towards a more sustainable, people-first future. So once again, thank you so much, Natalie.
Thank you, Shruti.
And take care, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.